Is cumulus geomwyd at sitje ag bun and slebe give in hier van Varsje in se counter Upper Clooney. Kermit sports gealaha file dun football. Ook het toekomst die niet gele. Kermit amaniak, kamogiak, pelgiala, ligers lava file. Only zich chapel carry with laat hand.
The GAA is part of a national movement promoting Gaelic games, culture and a sense of Irish identity. Gort and Móna is the local manifestation of that within the Upper Springfield and Greater Turf Lodge area.
The club itself was formed in '74. I went to secondary school in 1978, Gort and Móna. Secondary school, a Christian Brothers school. So Christian Brothers have a lot to do, obviously, instrumental would be an understatement in the formation of the club, particularly the Christian Brothers, Brother Egan and Brother Maroney. So they fostered a great feeling in the area for Gaelic games, and as a result then played a wee bit at primary school, and then when we went to secondary school, that's what really took off the GAA for Gaelic games.
Everything was through Gort and Móna Christian Brothers School. You met up there, you trained up there, you went to school up there 9 to half 3, Monday to Friday, and a lot of those school teachers did run the school teams, and a few of them did stay beyond 3:30 in an afternoon to take after school hurling and football, handball. So Gort and Móna CBS was like a factory. It just brought these kids in and just spit them out to play hurling and football for the club. You would have just followed the older lads who would have been maybe 2 or 3 years older than us. So when they get to 18, I might have been 15, 16, they had to make a decision there and then, right? Do we carry this on as a club, or do we just break up and join other GAC clubs, and they come up, or we'll have our own club.
It must have been around 1983. I'm 6. My older brother Terry took me up. The then Gort and Móna trained in the old Gort and Móna school. There used to be like a big runway down the middle of the old Gort and Móna school, and there was like a bridge under it with shutters at either side, and it was just like kids running mad. Now the other thing about that time was it wasn't like there was an under 6 and under 8 and under 10 and under 12 team. There was just loads of kids. There was no categories for them. So I might have been one of the younger ones at 6, but there was 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds running about, and it was just chaotic. But there was also a great sense of vibrancy about it. So that was my first introduction to Gort and Móna. Also going up with Terry, he's maybe 7 years older than me, so he was already well established that time. And a lot of the boys who were older than me, say the 7, 8, 9-year-olds, they all loved Terry, so Terry was like a big deal.
Hosí me le Gort and Móna síle man ní déag nóha. Bhí mé gimmers le bonscoil football firste, agus hannig mé láhhain go Raymond Quinn ag Lord leis an Meister, German Utuma, agus hannig mé go an bhirteach ar garcasteach, agus ag Jerry an lé, dúirt móin teorlam, German, betas ag gimmers le Gort and Móna amach an seo. Simmer a hosí me. Bagrala Jared Fleming go Priawa, teach tís go sráid sogaine Springfield Park, agus glagad sé scaf jogaine trasna, bhíl muid ag tréanal sin ní ron farc ogin dar nó an am sin, agus bhíl muid ag tréanal sólan na Carreg Bhaine.
Is civilum dír a lá bhain maithair ag tuairt sí sig tréanal mé ag cool hólan na Carreg Bhaine, agus buú le Fardarvin John Neeson. Agus an tíon mar civilum na bheith cíniú gur glach den an líróid bhuaim, agus ní civilum mór an eile se has gur an farc janta a cinneal de Garval, agus gur Gortí sé cud bhúnar hits tú.
My daddy, Peter, he would have been a good Gort and Móna man, and when I was growing up, my brothers played for the club. So when they would have been coming back from training or matches, or there would have been a buzz in the house, a bit of how did you do, who scored, how did it go for you? And I kept saying to my daddy, I want to do that. And my daddy was saying, listen, there's nothing up there for you yet, love, there are no lady sports up there. quite stubborn myself, so I said, is that right? So myself and Siobhan Shannon, who lived around the corner from me, my best friend at the time, we went round the doors with a petition to start a ladies' fraction within Gort na Móna, and hurling appealed to me more than Gaelic football. I loved the idea of playing camogie in Gort na Móna. At that time there were only a small number of clubs in West Belfast, and I definitely thought there was a place for us in the Upper Springfield. So we got the petition going, and with the help of a few people from the club, we were able to get Gort na Móna camogie up and off the ground.
I was born in America. I was born to an American father, an Irish mother. Came back to Belfast when I was about 5 years of age, 1989-90. I had no sort of sporting background in my family. There's no GAA connection. There's nothing like that. So I discovered GAA in primary school and started playing just through the school teams and that. Never had a club. But when I was about 13, 14, I moved to Turf Lodge and I went to St Mary's. And I started playing for the school team. And I didn't have a club. And I met Dackie Hughes, and Dackie Hughes brought me to Gort na Móna. And the rest, they say, is history. So I started playing for Gort na Móna from I was about 13, 14. And now I'm coming 40 and I'm still here.
Around about the age of 6, just moved into Móna Parade. We lived in Agmore first, and as you know, Móna Parade's a GAA street in terms of Gort na Móna, hurling and Gaelic. So obviously you've got the Flanagans, the Stardia Street, the Richies, and then you've got Darren Boyd, Paul Boyd, the Franklins, the Kearnses, the Hugheses, the McClellans. So it was pretty much a GAA street, and there was always kids playing in the street. So that's how I got involved. So I actually think it was Paul Campbell was selling hurls back then. It was £8 a stick, and my dad bought me a stick, and then after that I couldn't let it out of my hand.
Gort na Móna is based in the Upper Springfield community, and I suppose the Upper Springfield is a bit of a made-up term, but really there's 11 housing estates within the Upper Springfield, White Rock, Turf Lodge area, and it has a population just maybe sort of 11,500 households or something like that.
Tógu an cantar in sna lua seascaidí ar bhailí warthú agus láiste na Móna. Agus is dóthaigh gur dtí le ar agur pobl ionta óg go fáile. Bhag daoine isteach ó áitin costa bailí bh garage, Carrick Hillis rilla, nar bhí ráthííocht an na ráthíon runs na háitin sin, ná an áitin nar bhí ionsaithe deanta ag dílseoirí agus gur chuirí chuid bhór daoine amach, tasan gur sin rud a hála le Maclan híon mar habla. Agus tháinig na daoine seo le chéile in sna seascaidí, agus beag an dóibh aithne chur chéile, agus in amana deachar nuair nach raibh fáisteach ar fáil le daoine nuair bhí éagúir a dhéanú ar bubble is rilla, has daoine le chéile agus cruí siad an fáisteach sin de chéile, cruí siad gróna, cruí siad scam and a social cruí siad servicey.
It's a working class area with all the trappings of what working class areas have. It's socio-economically depraved, but it's full of good people. It's a community. It's based in an area where when you grow up in it, as I did, you get to know people, you get to know the area, you get to know idiosyncrasies of each sort of pocket of groups of people, and you get to know them, you be part of it. There's high levels of unemployment, there's high levels of drug and alcohol misuse, there's crime and all that, but again, there's high levels of community, there's a high level of community spirit.
Sin gur sin an rud a dhéanann ionta leidir muid. Sin gur sin an rud a dhéanann a thugam na céile muid. Go muid a lig mar a ggéanna, go muid a lig an sa bhád céanna, agus go muid a lig ag tacaí agus ag léir dúí forteach le chéile. Star trouble teachógaí in sa ceantar, ach tá star in de brológaí fásta. Agus fása níos ar nói bhí cogaí tarda, agus ag arc siar an éis, arcam siar céicú deachar agus bheith agus a roin na hámanna sin go háirithe an glúin ar bhí roin, agus na deacrachtaí a bhí acu. Ach dúin híon fásta ag fása níos in sa ceantar sin, ba am ionta olcé.
We lived in a community that was occupied by the British Army. And that's literally, I mean, the Upper Springfield, every corner of the Upper Springfield was housed in a triangle of British Army bases, Fort Jericho being the biggest British Army base in Europe at one stage. So we were literally hemmed in as a community, and importantly, contextually, we've suffered terribly as a community.
Bearing in mind in 1978 we were living through a war, right through when we were travelling to places, it seemed very far for us, going up to Hightown and going to Ardoyne and crossing boundaries. There was one constant, and it was Willie Mackle. Willie Mackle was the man from up the street. His sons played for the club. Willie'd have been driving the minibus, he'd had his cigarette in his hand and the window down, and he'd been just going through the gears, and he was taking us to all the matches. We were in very, very safe hands with the likes of Willie Mackle.
It's only really when you get to the age that I'm at and you look back on your club playing days and your early days of being around juvenile setups as a player that you realise the impact that somebody within a club can have. They really take on a mentoring role, not just a coach for sport, it's really a life coach. These people get involved with you, they teach you resilience, they teach you how to handle difficult situations, they teach you how to just keep coming back for more despite results. And even at that, they're there to put a wing around you if you have anything going on outside of the game. So there was a lot of people influenced my career, to be fair. In the early days, obviously, Joanne, she's now Joanne Keenan, and Dan Keenan, husband and wife, they were, main characters, main influences in getting Gort na Móna off the ground. Another one would have been Nuala Valley. Nuala Valley was a big impact on my life. She would have been around the GAA in terms of other clubs and the Gaelic and the hurling, and she brought that to Gort na Móna, and with that she brought a new energy, and a new hunger. Other characters would have been, Terry Henry coaching us, but I probably remember him for the wrong reasons coaching us, because he used to take his top off when he was doing the warm-up, and we would have stood with the drill running down our faces watching him. And then you had to remember that his wife Deirdre played on the team, but the banter was great, that would have all been part of the laughs.
In terms of management, wasn't a bigger character than Greg McCaff, God rest him. Greg played a massive part in me growing up, and Greg became like a father figure to me. Spent a lot of time with him outside of playing hurling and Gaelic in his own home, and watching the All-Ireland finals and stuff, so he played a massive part. Martin Flanagan, from I was about 8, I didn't leave the pitch. Martin was the groundsman at the time, so Martin was always there no matter what, and he would have give you the odd stick, you've got a hurdle, well, it's a wee chip out of that one, so Martin would have always fired you a hurdle behind closed doors, always giving you, great feedback on what you're doing. If you're up pucking a ball about, you're practicing frees, whatever, always giving you tips.
In terms of my relationship with the club, Liam Inmate is probably the most important person in that journey. Again, because he's so passionate about Gort na Móna, feels it in terms of his own responsibility, but then feels that you have a responsibility to do that as well. And he's also a great delegator, so he's also delegated an awful lot of that responsibility to me over the last 20 odd years. So Liam would be the key driver probably for me. In terms of my early days, I mentioned John Neeson. John Neeson was a neighbour in Dermot Hill. He was just a very, very warm, funny man. So whenever he filled his car with 10 people and they were literally hanging out the window, you actually felt that John Neeson was your friend. You actually thought he was your mate. You didn't really see him as a coach, in a sense, and that wasn't what he brought. And so this is what I tell people today: almost never mind the coaching skills. They're okay. The big thing is to provide love to the kids. And John very, very much did that. He was so much fun and so much crack.
There céad tógam fágar ná because we're clocha in a lí harfanach. Agus chréidmid John, mar chréidmid John agus chuir sé muid hartar an bharc. Der sé gur lag sé síos cúig fan déag nó again. He's faoin na clocha. Agus go joglan é a bhhailú gur na clocha a bhhailú. Agus cos le amadain, rith muid a lig hartar an fágar fád sin gur hannig daine bhhaine fi hipín. Agus ní dána fiú gur chuir John sin síos during just gur hit an más póca tógalín really marshal.
The pitch actually was our field for playing. We call that McGill's old field, and the Móna Road and Móna Parade, what he used that is a football pitch, and a lot of those kids all played for Gort, so you just followed the older ones in the street, really.
Before the facilities were there, it was just a big field. I remember you used to go up the pitch with the McNaughtons and all, and you would have been playing games, not even your hurling. I don't think you could have played hurling Gaelic on it, the grass was that long, but you were just getting up and you were playing two-man hunt and hide and go seek, and just it was just great memories, even before the club itself was built.
My daddy said, come on, we're all going out. And he took us up that day and we thought we were going out for a family trip. Great daddy, this is brilliant. But it wasn't. We were given 4 buckets and put on our hands and knees to pick the stones out of the bumps to start preparing the ground to level it for Gort na Móna pitch as it is now.
Peter Hughes has had a massive impact on my life, both sporting ways and socially and everything else. He helped me an awful lot when I was younger. But he's a massive figure in my with Gort na Móna, and I associate Gort na Móna a lot with Peter Hughes. Peter Hughes is really, really good to me, very good to me. But when I went to Gort na Móna, I mean, my juvenile coaches, you know, Shawnee Nolan, Dee Ritchie, Ronan Scullion, who was not much older than me at the time, but had a massive role in our club, and he sort of inspired me to do a lot of coaching when I was younger as well. So Ronan had helped me a lot, and we worked our way right through the minor. Now, I started playing for Gort na Móna senior team when I was 16, 17, so it was a very quick transition for me from going to Gort na Móna, from playing under 13 to 3 years, 4 years later, being a member of our senior football team. So then I went in there sort of adult coaches, and Matt Bradley was there at the time, and Liam Enright, and Al Enright, and Robbie Clark, and all them guys helped me an awful lot. Like,
It was just always an appeal, went out every year, you know, we need coaches, we need referees, we need this, so yeah, you just put your hand up. Then you were able to drive the bus as well. So myself and John Neeson, John loved the games, you know, so me and him ended up striking up a good old friendship and run a lot of 10, 12 teams.
Ní rú chomatí coach bordini, mar sin de gan le hetí Willie Maggle, Ger Fleming sa rilla, a lemon in mo sin, og hummin an rud. Ní veo coach word dini gefoil bunch of coming.
They're near a hussy Michi Gimmert, the Scaftia or Murra Gimmert, or in Sugumsa. Scaftia dini den kids scoy. Dini Bejer knock me on a Jason Kianaku of a Gimmert le Fern sport, I could be Gort na Móna, because I could be Ger Fleming, Kofu Jackson.
The 5 war again in Sidarla of the Enig Minner. A story had to go to Glorcha Harfin bit, simply in Nijig no Ni Yavila. August Ni Ru near Kuchel Yogin. August is Kevin Marable Glocky Miche. But are now Bemror me again. August like there's William Shear, Grishamber, like Gurnation and Kosha doing I think Kerglor story glad. August Ni are now in your bar looking for Kaje according to Big Johnny. August O'Hen, if you may go to Glocky Fernia and Kodji the Fernia.
When I was juvenile in Gort na Móna, my coaches were young men, and I didn't realise it at the time. You know, I might have been 14, 15. The people who were coaching me were in their mid-20s, you know, early 20s in some of their cases, some of them early 30s. They were all still playing. So when I got to my mid-20s, I thought, these guys did that for me. So I felt like I wanted to give something back. I also loved the game of football, so I was interested in coaching and I wanted to learn off people. So I started getting involved in certain teams, helping other coaches out, just being around, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sporting side of it, but I enjoyed the sort of social end of it too, getting to know young people, trying to have a positive impact in their lives, as people that did with me when I was younger as well. So that's where the interest came from, and I haven't left it since.
There's nursery programmes now, and there's under 6 and there's under 7, but Ronan Scullion was our juvenile coordinator at the time, and he had asked me, look, would I take an under 8 football team, which at that stage would have been the youngest team in the club. And so that was my first entrance sort of to coaching, which then really helped to transition you from, I suppose, you began to see the club not just about you as a player, but you began to see the bigger picture, how the senior team was one part of the connection and not just the be-all and the end-all. So that really helped. Plus it allowed me at that time, because I was very, very obsessive about playing and about being as well prepared as I possibly could, it gave a bit of perspective to me to actually go and enjoy my game. And actually, probably from the ages of sort of 32 to 38, 39, I had a really enjoyable experience at Gort na Móna.
Bhí me sé codú leis na buachaí faoi dé, and sa cumann agus an rud a Harlan bhí Birchnín agam ag immert agus an sin hanna couple of cara lá, and sa cumann agus bhí me cinneal ag arc, you know, beidir revision ar cordúin tuiseacht ar fel na man, but maidir lumsa hanna sé an funte go mé Bay ar na colony sugamsa and Maca Cumanella, no Hoculan, Bidger, do you know, Rodrigan and Hushak?
Well, Hussy me gimmert to Gort na Móna nor bhí me harpa ní blian déis. Drastal me bonscal slave a give, agus bhí me cara blahin marangsa agus dúirt sílam gurú daji seci ag toshacht an pella suas a Gort na Móna agus bhí me carja leg sarang cos le cíh agus orla gul suas fásta. So hui me leg suas agus ní mór an simogam pelgéalach grabha seo, so hui me suas agus tá me leg go fáil gimmert sinné.
Thosaí me sé gimmert fan Gort na Móna nar bhí mé harfa séimlinn a dís ach ní raibh peannaán anan ag an am sin agus bhí mé ag gimmert leis an fear an cumógaíocht. No, ní raibh simogin go ag cuman eile agus ní raibh fear ar bhí ag an tús bhí harfa nínar a gin ag gimmert.
Ní raibh fiú lentí a gin bhí ort bhí clíthe a gin in dhéan na sáirslí ar an park agus ní raibh fiú éirí Gort na Móna. Ag agin bhí me just ag caithú éirí sa gin héan agus mar raibh lentí Gort na Móna agus caithú sin.
Síle mané sin just gur éilen daine eile eisteach agus just déar ní. Homid an infrastructure atá na sin, you know, go páistí a gin faoi sé go dtí sin tíir, but hála sin thar tréimh siad a thar ach níim léna, tá muid pléile sin. Bhí muid burtha fa cinneal cumas. Bhín sa cuman maidir le bheith réir ar gré nua, but nuair a thosaí muid céim rá bhí formid lán takeíachta ó bhilréachta an cumáin agus inis tá rudí a goal ó neart.
I had tried to bring our Gabrielle to our local club because we live in the mountain and she was having none of it and I thought that was her, she wasn't going to play any sport. And then she went to school and came home one day and said, Mummy, all my friends are going to Gort na Móna and I really want to go. And she tortured me and my daddy until she did go. And then that was it. She was just hooked on the fun, friendship, the people, everything about it, and has been heavily invested in it ever since. I was always involved as a parent, and more recently I became the COVID officer. Oh my God, at a time when of course Gort na Móna was one of the first clubs to get COVID, so I was tortured in the house about that, and then most recently I went on to the committee, and I suppose it was about giving back because I recognise all the opportunities that Gabrielle's had, and I realise the massive contribution that the club and the people in the club have made to shaping her to become the person that she is today.
My oldest son Connor, who is now under 16, we needed to find a club for him. My husband's originally from Kilrea, so we weren't affiliated with any sort of club in Belfast, and we put the feelers out to a few people, and my dad knows Liam Enright, so Liam was the first to get back. Connor was 3, he was invited up to the nursery, and Soupy was there, Keeney, Ronan, and that was him involved from he's 3, so that's around 13 years now we're about Gort na Móna, so I have 3 sons now throughout the club. I just love it. I love the atmosphere, the environment, you know, how welcoming everybody was. As I said, I wasn't originally a Gort na Móna person as such, and you know, people just open arms and you just get stuck in, and I just love that whole part of the club.
I got involved when I was moving into Holy Trinity at the start of Primary 6. I was still living in the New Lodge at the time, but my granny lives in the Móna Road. She was we're always in her house, and I was saying to my mummy, I really wanted to get into something and I didn't know what it was. She used to play for Gort na Móna when she was younger, so I said to her, look, will you find out when training is? And she brought me up, got a hurdle off one of my cousins, got a wee kit from O'Neill's, and that was me, stuck ever since, yeah.
Like it's a bug, it's just addictive, the competitiveness, just being able to do certain things where a ball, and obviously a slither and a hurdle, like it's hard to describe the buzz you get, like taking a man on, scoring a goal, coming from behind, going to a hard place. Obviously the camaraderie with your friends. I have sisters, I have no brothers, but my friends are like immediate family to me, like they're I'm that close to him, and that's because of Gort and Móna and because of hurling and Gaelic and what happens on the pitch and what happens on the training field. It affects everything. It affects what you do, your daily life, your relationships. Like having girlfriends, trying to explain to them, I've trained the night, actually trained on Friday too, have a match on Sunday, and trying to explain to them that this is part of life and it's never going to go away. You know, so it comes before most things, and it always has, and it's the place where you go when, like, if things get on in your life, and that hour training session is where you go to forget about things, and it's an hour with your mates. Everything goes away. It's therapy, you know. For me, it's therapy. It's what I love doing, and it's what I get the most out of, and it gives me the most, you know, happiness.
The thing that made Gort and Móna special was the fact that it was family. Paul McClellan, for example, was one of those 6-year-olds when I was 6, and then Paul McClellan becomes a lifelong friend in the club. We then play senior together. We play 12, 14, 16 minor, senior for a load of years. So soccer couldn't replicate that in any way. And I had quite a successful soccer career, but nothing corresponds to the pride that I felt winning an intermediate championship with Gort and Móna, with my 2 brothers by my side, and the likes of Paul McClellan around the team as well, people who you grew up with your entire life. So yeah, the bonds, the friendships, the family is the big thing that makes the GAA special and makes Gort and Móna special.
People don't understand, so you're going to train 5 times a week, but what do you get out of it? You know, you can't become a professional. I'm like, I play it because I love it. I play it to owe back for the people who have given so much to me, you know, like the coaches that give up their time. You know, it's kind of like a two-way thing. It's like you give so much and I'll give back, and you know, the reward and the joy and the happiness, you know, come August and championship season, make it all worth it. Like they say in the GAA, we all do belong. It is a place where, you know, and you don't even have to play the games, you know, you can just be a member, you can enjoy playing. It's a place where everybody can chip in. It's a community, it's a family, it's something so rare and unique.
The intermediate final in 2018, I'll never forget this day, because I walked out to take the toss and the referee had told me that they had to delay the throw-in by 15 minutes because of the crowd on the Right Rock Road. And our whole community was out that day. I think there was something like 2,000 people. The club and every kid had flags, and it was just a real sense of pride. You know, this is who we are. We've came here on our numbers and we're showing it to everybody in this community. And I took a lot of pride from that day, regardless of what the result was, because it felt to me that as a community and as a club, we were really growing in the Upper Springfield area, and we were very visible, and we had all this sort of vibrancy and colours and children and mummies and daddies and lots of women, which was never really there before as well. So that's a huge highlight, Kieran, that 2018 loss. Strange highlight, but a highlight in my eyes, basically.
Thinking back about the different teams, so I played a bit of reserve football, Southampton football, and you always had characters. Like in Southampton football, I'd have played along with another ex-chairman, Peter Hughes, a great friend of mine. Peter had been 11 years older than me, but he was always a great friend. Played Southampton football with Jim McElhatton, a great friend, and Big Mick, another great friend, and me Midge, George Ferguson, Desi Nolan, Tommy Rocks. You're thinking back to all the players that played, like Mick O'Hare, you know, characters within the club who'd have played a bit of football back in the day. But it was fun. The football was fun. Hurling wasn't fun. Hurling was serious. And Gort and Móna had a history and a tradition of being predominantly hurling back then, because we excelled at it, we're good at it. And it's actually changed quite a bit now. We've become very well established at football, and as you well know, Kieran, ladies football has taken off, and obviously we have camogie, and probably the most successful branch of our association has been our handball.
I don't think I'd spoke about it enough, actually, because growing up I played handball. I don't want to forget people. Robbie, Paddy Colours, McCann, Addy Mullen. Growing up we all played handball as well, so you're playing soccer, handball, hurling and Gaelic, and what the handball give you was speed, your hand-eye coordination, your agility and movement in your feet. Like, I played a massive part in me playing hurling and Gaelic. Obviously I couldn't keep them all on, but as I get older I may go back to handball.
And anybody who's come through the juvenile ranks at our club and progressed into being involved in the senior will realise, you know, what this club gives our community, what it gives our people, what it does for people's lives. And I think it's important that we all have our own little role to play, no matter how small or big. And if we all chip away and do a little bit between us all, it goes a long way to helping the next generation of people. Our club is an exceptional community hub. You know, it does an awful lot of outreach work. It does youth work, it does Irish language and culture work. It does an awful lot for people's lives, and some of it goes hidden and unnoticed too. A lot of it did when I was younger. What the club did for me went hidden and unnoticed, and I didn't really speak about it, but it's there. So I think it's important we all, after we stop playing, give a little bit, no matter how. Now, don't get me wrong, people have work and lives and other things that get in the way, but if we can all give a little bit. So I think it's really important just to sustain the work of the club through generations by giving a little bit back when you stop playing.
Well, to Gort na Móna codgeboard de maithnitas hain, tá muid mar teulach mór, tá muid le cardial lena chéile, réite muid le lena banastóir agus na codgeóirí go hintach, tá siad aróis agus tá an cumann aróis tá sé gal ó Nearc an Nearc fásta.
Tugann sé muinteras de daoine agus féin haon cairthe gan an cumann. Bíonn imeachtaí ar siúl daoin agus tá na banastóirí a gcónaíonn sin le codúlan fásta. Aontaíonn sé an phobal le chéile agus nuair atá tú faoi bhrú nó faoi strás is féidir leat gáil suas agus mar le chairde.
Bhfuil muid le a lean cairde sa cumann agus taobh muid an cumann fásta, thug sé deisna doing imirt don conde, an birteagin imirt don conde agus beal le daoine nua ó clubanna eile agus bhí codgeboard clíthe cardial ar fad na haireann fásta agus blitzanna agus cumartis fásta.
Well, an na tugam manis, sin beidir an pís ibre is mór in méidir an cumann. Agus an áid bhain sé le bhhacha fé, sin an níomh go lein sin breagar bí sin. Bhí reis agus bhí cíine agus a couple daoine eile ag codúlas an sin, agus ghlach mé an sin fríd ó bhí siad harfa beidir cuaig bliana díis, go dtí an ansin bhil siad aníis. Agus na bontáistí a bhain leis an rud ná go dtí go lead cinneal sochaí bag a cruthú antú, go dtí go teulach bag a cruthú antú, agus go dtí go lead cinne aithne dlú, aithne chur orthú héan agus ar na tuismóirí, agus go maiile sin na tuismóirí thuirteiste hansa cumann, beidir ná buinte leis an cumann ribh, agus níor bhile go mé an cumann cinneal druids de hiag daoine bí, bhile gcónaí go mé sé cinneal orgánach, go mé sé go mé fáilte ribh chach, agus ar nóid go dúirí sin daoine eile te as go mar sin rud a tunaí, is cumann pobl, is cumann den phobal tunaí.
Some people feel as if they don't have anything to offer. Some people feel that they have already contributed by playing. I was always of the mind that whenever I was playing, I was taken, and whenever I was finished, I would put something back. So whenever I was playing senior hurling, I took our reserve team, and I played in it as well. Whenever my son came of 7 years of age, I was taking his team and putting back in. But I suppose most of the time I would put back into the club would it be from an administration perspective.
The administrative side is a bit less gratifying in terms of it's more of a thankless task. No one is giving you a pat in the back. But again, some people's skill sets are there and not out on the pitch working with young people. Would all like to do the happy fun stuff. But sometimes you just need to, again, put your shoulder to the wheel and go, this needs to be done. And if you have the skill set to do that, by all means do it. The thing about it is, we all like to say it's a thankless task and we do this, but you do get thanks and people do understand.
I would have always been a man for rules, having refereed when I was younger. I was furnished with part 2 of the official guide, which is a small book outlining all the rules. And I wanted to get part 1 to see how the association worked, and I would have represented our club from time to time at various different fora, Southampton and county meetings, even though I wasn't chair. I was on the club committee from, I was about 21 or 22.
Padraig was looking somebody to maybe oversee the secretary account, so I thought I'll put my hand forward for this, and so that's where it begun. And then off that, I got a phone call. I was maybe doing that about 6 months to a year, and Liam Enright gave me a call coming up to Christmas there was a AGM and a new committee was forming, and he was chair at the time, and he said wanted to take me along on the committee with him. So that's how then I became a committee member, and then from that it all escalated. I just feel that as a family we got so much from the club, a lot of support, and you know, I'm seeing my boys being trained, and you know, people volunteering time for them and caring for them, and I wanted to give back something from us, and that was my way to help, really.
Gort na Móna is just everything to me. It's just become a second family to me. For my family anyway, the memories we have made together, like not even just me and my mummy, me, my daddy, bringing my younger brothers up, you know, it's actually hard to put into words sometimes, because it's not until you stop and you think about these questions, you know, if it was ever taken away, it would be something I would be lost without. Something you do take for granted, but you know, that off season sometimes kills me, because I'm like, what do? I don't know what to do. But no matter if it's just going up and pucking a ball about, having a laugh with your mates, or your manager's giving you a bit of advice, or one of your teammates says, come on, pick yourself up, it's only a bad day. Gort na Móna is a family and a community, and a rare one at that.
Gort na Móna changed the course of my life, and you know, I don't say that lightly. Growing up in 1990s West Belfast with all the sort of social problems that existed at the time, you know, a society coming into conflict, there was a lot of crime and car crime and addiction issues and things like that. I'm not saying I would have went that road, but Gort na Móna prevented me from even having that option, because it provided me with discipline, structure. It provided me with healthy well-being sporting games. It provided me with a social circle where I felt accepted for who I was able to express myself, was able to form friendships. So it's done an awful lot for me in terms of guiding my life morally as well. A lot of the morals I live by today, and what I apply to my life and how I am as a parent or how I am as a family person, were developed out of seeing people do these behaviours in Gort na Móna when I was younger.
Neart funny vogumsa, agus me og, rehart, you know, der cluny, le more dini yoga, land na macardia, tashid marionish, cardiala, you know, Neil Sheed Internet or Wylum, Gameo Sheed, Sheedham and Rudda Hug Gort na Móna Dusan, or Hug Shay, Jestu of a heart or Guineala, a Jimbalact, Jarafak, you know, a grower and a routine geary, you know, gral area, August of a taculum, Ederog August Easter, August Tamisha geary and Rud a tugger file dusa, a cur file hing kegluanella. Gentlemen's your nihil and amana, you know, gentlemen's ling mancogi, but sonumlin, see them go with a cur file, you know, Rud my so major lumsa, hug shay and Rud of EDE herum, nervi meog, August hug shay and gestu, Rud egg a horture rash. Agus many shinya, Rud egg a tug a cudgy lumsa, but a tag cudgy needs tag de listen to the August, it's kind of rough more tail, August to my brother as a very part check on.
I want to create a more equal society. I come from a community which is the most depraved community in the north of Ireland, and has historically been the most depraved community in the north of Ireland. But we've also come through the legacy of a conflict here, in which the Upper Springfield White Rock community suffered disproportionately. That suffering has not ended. In fact, that concept of transgenerational trauma is very, very real. When my family suffered, my oldest brother Terry was murdered by loyalists in 1988. It was the arms of Gort na Móna that went around us. So for me, the GAA was then a massively important vehicle to build our people up, to build up their confidence, to build up their self-esteem, to make them feel more included, to politicise them about their language, their culture, our place in the world, that sense of connection and connectedness and solidarity, and that as a bulwark against the crass individualism of the modern world.
Das me sin níos le Charlie a bhí gcónaí ag Gort faidú de trífáirteach leis an phobal, faidú de treidir sin na ruí cearta, faidú de seasaí suas in dhéanaan tromaíocht agus in dhéanaan éagóir sa rila. Nar tháinig mé seasa cumann ar nói mar ar óg, thug sé áitú le bheith immert agus ag súgrú agus a rila. Ach de réir mar das mé níos, agus nuair chuirtú aithnear na daoine seo a roiid glacú na fronnithe agus tú óg chuirtú aignóirí mar rinne fásta mé híon. Daitheann tú a luach ar bhain ahan eile rud a bhí séite ag teanú. Agus an rud orgánach seo bhí sé abal a thuirt a ráist an phobal. Agus daitheann tú an sppragu bhí tíomhfhiar sin, agus an sppragu tíomhfhiar ahan eile rud a rinn John Neeson a dhéanam Ger Fleming agus na daoine seo ar fáil nar bham chuid bhhaim na luú ar go bhhaige me daine amach. Na an sppragu tíomhfhiar sin na gra agus grad an phobal bonahir an Jalú Farteacht.
Whenever you had all these kids here, all come from different backgrounds, mostly the same backgrounds. Some of them came from homes where their parents were involved. Some of them came from homes where their parents weren't involved. Some of them came from homes where they were able to get gear, and some of them came from homes where they needed help to get gear and whatever. But anyway, the common denominator was Gort and Móna. Father Wallace, God rest him, was always helping Gort and Móna. And he said to me, Terry, yous are the jewel of the community, as in the whole of the Turf Lodge, Upper Springfield. And I always said to the kids, you just have a sense of belonging. That's what we're here for, to give you a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. You belong, you're Gort and Móna, you have the colours, you have this unique badge. It's yours, it's not ours. We all own it collectively. Because I didn't have any tradition when I was growing up with GAA in my family. But I felt instantly part of Gort and Móna, and I always wanted other kids to feel the same.
My background in youth work is around developing young people, so whenever I helped out as a team, my focus wasn't really on running drills and doing coaching sessions, because I didn't know how to do that. What I did know how to do was build relationships with young people and create memories and create shared experiences. And within Gort and Móna, young people coming through, and players now, senior players and main shed members, if you ask them about their greatest memories in Gort and Móna, they'll not talk about winning a Féile or winning a championship or a final or do something. It'll not be about that, it'll be about people. It'll be about experiences with friends, it'll be about a memorable coach doing something crazy, doing something mad. And that's what it's all about. It's about helping young people develop into adults and being part of a wider us. Being part of a wider movement within the Upper Springfield. For me, that's what it's about. That's why we should do what we should do.
I think the GAA, I suppose that the wider impact that it has on the community and the sense of solidarity and community ownership. So for example, during COVID, Gort and Móna played an active part in delivering food parcels. People were undertaking visits to local people in the community who were elderly. There was a lot of help and support that went onto the radar.
Our club members have joined brilliantly around the Turf Lodge, Lower Andytown, Ballymore Freeway Track, New Barnsley, Dermot Hill, Moyard. And basically the biggest problem I have with too many volunteers, so it shows you how good we get on, and it's very good for the community, for the ones who need it badly.
Some of the values, I think, around learning how to win, learning how to lose, shaping the person that you are, I think are straddle all sports. But there's also just something special, I think, about the people and the fact that there's a whole kaleidoscope of people that you meet when you go to those type of matches, and the bond that it gives you, I think, is very special. It's not just about participating, and Padraig makes me laugh because his sort of mantra and philosophy from they've been young has always been everybody's a good player. So, that whole approach to not having specific stars on it, and that everybody is capable of making their contribution and that they can be change makers, and is really something that's not just talked about, but it's actually, I think it's lived out in terms of the practices that are existent in the club.
Kermit fáil clíhí tá game agin, tá áit sábailte agin in a jigla daoine agus teach le chéile agus a bheith maithí go maifa dúdamh héana fémhaín sa go orbert is féidir lá clachtú dhéanú ar cardjas a thógáil le daoine eile agus le ceideamh a thógáil le chéile agus a céimhnú sin rud mór ceideamh a thógáil le daoine agus a céimhnú thuig le a acail an difar atá Gort na Móna dhéanú a bubble sogainú duna daoine yoga níl ach le céise chur ar na daoine yoga agus ní ghlacad sí sicálaí fithe bummate le bheith glórsa le feacail na buntáis agus na buna an siad as a bheith mar chud de cumann sogainn.
Tá sé cútáhata na skillanna tugad agus an teás tugad a chuirte ré an cé glúin eile. Ar an ábhar gur bhhailinn na luchlasíthe agus na himróí is fearr a chur amach sin ar son an cumáin. Agus bhhailinn go muí sin amach an potential atá acu, so dóis go déaghló muína bheith acu ag go amach sa taobh. Nuair hen na himróí amach an parca, bhhailinn go mbeidh siad ag immert ar son rud atá níos móna ar chéan. Bhhailinn go mbeidh siad treidir son a chéile, ar son an phobal, ar son na dahanana, ar son ahanana le rud a bhfuil arolalas acu sin fan cumann. Mar sin an rud atá díonnta sothaí am óráil. Caithfidh muid cinneal dlú fearteach go léir le chéile an ahan gréad an taobh, agus má tá tionathair ó gine ar riine óga agus ar riine eile in sa cumann an ar áitimh chéan. Beidir go mbeidh ceap sin fólam acu go raibh siad amach sa sothaí chéan agus in dhéanamh siad early.
It's a special place within the community where, you know, people come together. Things, obviously, there's been a few people in the club that have been sick and others have died and things like that. And the way people come together, whether it's fundraising or it's run the night in the club, support the families, that's what you get support. You know I could lift the phone to anybody within our club and they'd be there for you in 2 seconds. You know, I could rain names off for days, but that's the feeling that gives me. I know the club has got my back and I know the club has got all the other kids in our community's backs. And it's not just hurling and Gaelic or handball or whatever, it's your personal life too. The club actually cares and wants you to develop as a person and not just as a sports person.
The sports side of it is the most obvious thing that it provides, and we do provide Gaelic games for in excess of 30 teams, I think it is now, across 5 codes, which is fantastic, but it's way more than a sports club. Kieran, it's a community hub, it's a place where people will help you find employment, people will help you study, people will help you fill in application forms, you know, we'll facilitate in, unfortunately, when people die in terms of organising funerals, and we'll support every single person in all aspects of their life, regardless if it's a GAA or not. So I think it's huge in terms of socially in our community and what it provides for our community and how much of a social hub it is.
I remember my daddy when we were growing up saying, you know, when Gort na Móna Camogie got going, he says, this is great, you know, those friends that you make on the pitch will be the friends that will carry your coffin. And it never, you know, it resonated so true when the day my daddy was buried. His funeral was a massive Gort na Móna effort, to be fair. You know, it was a sea of maroon across Turf Lodge, and it gave me great pride to be part of our club and be part of that wider Gort na Móna community and family. You know, you hear it spoke about so many times, oh, your club's your family, and it absolutely is. You know, the people that carried my dad's coffin were his friends, my friends, our family and his family, and it just made me proud to be a Gael and to be a Gort.
I went to school in Holy Trinity, as most people did, in Gort na Móna, and I went to Gort na Móna Secondary School, Christian Brothers, and all them people that I went to school with who were at my year, or a year below me, a year above me, or a couple of years below me, they're all still involved in the club. I have had lifelong friendships. They have helped me bury my father, I've helped them bury parents. I've been to their weddings. We've been to so many places together. We've been to all over Ireland watching Féiles, taking teams to Féiles, and them bonds are there for life. Our club's 50-year-old. There's friendships in our club that are 50-year-old where you can rely on solid, sound people. And the institution that is Gort na Móna, that was born out of the top of Turf Lodge with no pitch, no nothing, is now has everything that we need. We're actually bursting at the seams. We could do with more facilities, but it has everything there that you need. What do I take out of it? I take great pride in the fact that I've been part of that for a long, long time.
I think the club is full of ordinary, decent people who just do extraordinary things. And friendships, camaraderie, distraction, mental health, offload of stress. Recently when my husband was sick, it was great to just go and chat to people and be distracted. And you know, what I love about Gort na Móna, it doesn't matter who you are, what your job is, when you step through those gates, everybody's equal. You know, we're all part of the one community and nobody any greater, any lesser than anybody else.
Is Kevin there for John Neeson boss. Agus chin me agus ri me gaire gan am chéine, mar bhí an duine sin có, bhí méid sin tionathair ige Mahale, ag fás an níos mar aróg, og sin gur sin an dúgus tóirí nadig, an fáilte sin a chur rih a hana le duine heag an frídin doras.
Say from an 11-year-old still to this day, you know, till you go out feed first, you know, Gort na Móna, it's the bigger family, you know, that I would think the clubs that who you played against who are no more. You know, I think one night I sat down and counted 8 to 10 clubs that you would have played against from you were 12 to senior who are gone, no more, you know. Frightening that way, you know, and the GAA family itself, you know, and all the clubs in the different areas, you know, if they weren't there, you know, there'd be hell of a vacuum there, you know, where young people, you know, especially in today's world, you know, where sort of they're closing down the community clubs and the community hubs where a lot of people would go, you know.
Surely nach rún áit sin, surely ag áit bhfuil Parfag an Reachtaí grú tíhíonn sin, agus nach rúil le héid de Gort na Móna an. Go dé bheith muid ag deanú, agus sin an rud a bhhéim a gcónaí. Friúil an áit mar héim fríd ar an tau jargaring, but ní amháin go an tau jargaring go bhfuil sé an, tá an tau jargaring gur thóg daoine roin seo, agus tá an tau jargaring go bhfuil an dúgus sin a bhíine. Agus an amna heiglis a bheith teachar, an amna níor bhile an teacha aige, an amna is gur farne tíomh mui. Ach, ba chuair gur muid a gcónaí ráil an haon seo don chéad glún eile, agus ba bhhain an gimén áit seo níos leidre don chéad glún eile a teag teachtas te in our né.
We're at a point now with the Upper Springfield is now growing. So our club is bursting at the seams in terms of the capacity with the facilities we have. So now it's about planning for the future. The Upper Springfield's growing, our club's growing. How can we grow our facilities and our capacity to do that? We've got to a point now where our capacity hasn't matched the growth of our club. So we don't have the volunteers to meet the demands that we need, and we're waiting on the younger generation coming through to help us fulfill that. That's a great challenge to have, because growth is always good. Do you know what I mean? So it's an exciting time to be part of the club.
The club has exponentially grown in the last 10 years. So we have more teams, more members, more involvement, and the work is amazing. But also our needs and the challenges are also greater. And so the need for a plan and a coherent plan becomes more important. So they're all the big challenges for us in the next while. And as Bobby Sands famously said, everybody has their role to play, no matter how big or no matter how small. And I suppose this 50th anniversary is a real opportunity to remind people that we have had a wonderful, rich history, which is only here because of the great work the volunteers before us have done. But it's now our opportunity to take on that mantle, to take on that jersey, to take on that torch, and to build a club for the future.